Buyers are preferring SUVs in ever greater numbers, so this week we're reviewing Hyundai's SantaFe. And the Koreans are doing a brilliant job of design. They're making these things even more attractive, and what they did was they got in European designs to get away from that kind of Japanesey look that the likes of Honda and Mazda have. Hyundai now has a new naming regime, and when they updated SantaFe, they updated the naming regime as well. There's 4 models now in all, each with a choice of a 3.5 litre diesel or 2.2 litre petrol. Prices start from $44,700 for the petrol 8-speed automatic 3.5 litre petrol to $65,200 for the Highlander 2.2 litre diesel automatic. And the drivetrains are pretty simple too. There's just 2 of them, the 3.5 litre V6 with 2-wheel drive and an 8-speed automatic, and the 2.2 litre, which is a turbo diesel, and that comes with an 8-speed DCT, so dual clutch automatic and all-wheel drive. You can add $695 for metallic paint and $295 for a camel interior on some models. I like the front. This new arrangement of lights looks modern and has kept the SantaFe right up to date. Now remember, it's been in quite a few different iterations now, and this one I think is the best looking, and I think it's going to age really well too. The side profile hasn't changed. There are built-in roof rails. You can see now that I've come close to the car with the key in my pocket, the mirrors have unfolded. It's getting ready for me to unlock. And watch this. If I stand at the back door will open for me. As well, I can open the front doors, or should I say unlock the front doors here with the button, as long as the key is in my pocket. There's a lot of space here in the back. Now remember, this has got an extra couple of seats, so a 3rd row of seats. And that 3rd row of seats has its own air conditioning controls, cup holders, USB points, and a couple of neat buttons here to lower the 2nd row if you want to completely flatten the rear cargo area. But I'm not going to try and sit in the back because that's just going to embarrass me. That 3rd row of seats is strictly for the young'uns. And in the back there's about 15 centimeters of space. There's a couple of map pockets, a couple of USB points, and some buttons here on the back of the front seat, so I can move that seat forward if I'm in the passenger seat. Head height, even in the rear, is brilliant, with about the same amount of space above my head as there is in front of my knees. And what I like about the interior is it's classy, it's beautifully laid out. I like this trim at the top, this kind of imitation carbon fibre look. We've got the new screen from Hyundai's new infotainment systems. The center console is double layer, and below there is a USB point and a charging outlet. The charging, this does have Qi wireless charging, but if you're going to put your phone in, let me just unplug my CarPlay, you put it here vertically, but you've got to make sure to push it down so the little door opens and the phone slips right in. When you do, the Qi charging light comes up. But this doesn't have wireless CarPlay, so I've got to plug it in. There's cup holders here in the front and this incredibly deep center console bin. It's got a little tray at the top to put your smaller stuff into. The Harman Kardon audio is delicious, delicious. And you know, I demonstrate it, but YouTube will have a fit. The layout of the center console, we're starting to see quite a lot of buttons creep back in again. Remember, some brands had gone to that almost naked look of the center console with no buttons and everything was here in the screen. Front and center is the drive mode button with both on-road and off-road controls, including one that's smart. There's the camera control button which brings up the reverse camera. This isn't the top model, so it doesn't have the fancy camera settings like the top model does. There's auto hold, downhill descent control, and the parking sensor button. And this I really like, Hyundai's selector control for gears. A huge park button, and then the 3 buttons that you would normally select. To select individual gears when you're on the go, there's paddle shifters on the steering wheel. The steering wheel is beautifully laid out with all of the controls for audio and driver aids right here where you can easily see them, and they're backlit. Above the drive zone is the climate zone, and that's got all of the controls for the tri-zone air conditioning. So there's another zone right in the back. Above that are the audio controls, but you can, if you want, activate audio controls through the touchscreen. This is a really nice wide landscape touchscreen. The dash, 2 conventional dials with a large LCD in between. There is sufficient ground clearance for doing a little light off-roading, but you're unlikely to want to do any serious off-roading simply because this has a dual clutch automatic. And they're very, very difficult to drive very slowly, which is something you need when you're off-road. You need that fine control. On this country road, it's actually a fairly well-kept country road. Incredibly narrow though it is, the corners are just fabulous. The steering's got just enough feel to tell you where the wheels are. Remember, it is electric power steering, as are the brakes, so you're not really getting the full benefit of road feel. What you feel, or what you think you feel, is just simulated. At urban speeds, the engine is fairly quiet. It does get a little raucous when pushed. As I mentioned, the drive mode is in Smart, so it's doing all of this all itself. It's deciding how I'm driving and what mode it should be in. The ride, the suspension is very sophisticated, and it feels firm without feeling harsh. Now remember, this SUV is built on a car platform. Most SUVs that are full-on SUVs have a separate ladder chassis, and that makes them a little sturdier. Also makes them more able to carry big loads. The fuel consumption has been pretty good, though we're still up around 9 litres per 100 kilometres. I generally try and think of things I like and don't like about cars, but this is so well designed. It's so comfortable. And part of that comfort is ambience. It's how the cabin feels. It's the impression it leaves you with. And this leaves me with a very comfortable, cozy, cosseted feel. The surfaces are all soft. There's stitching on the dash. And the seating, only the base model gets cloth. The next 2 models get leather, and the top model, the Highlander, gets Nappa leather, so it's even softer. Takeoff is spirited. I don't have to do anything special to get it to have a little bit of pep. Do you remember those old diesels that had no turbo? They were downright dangerous. Now that we are at highway speed, I can see my speed on the speedo in front of me, but I can also see it in the middle of the dash on the digital speedo, which is the one I'd prefer to use. There's no heads-up display in this model, which is a bit of a shame. I'm going to turn on my active cruise control, which is now, I can see, is set to 80. The traffic's starting to slow down in front, so I've slowed down to 73, and the distance is set by one of the buttons on the steering wheel, and I can lower that if I want to. It's slowing down, and it will slow right down to 0, and then we'll take off again if under 3 seconds. If it's more than 3 seconds, then you've got to give the accelerator a jab or the resume button a press. On a trip, you can use Hello Google, or whatever the Google thing is for Android, and Hey Siri to get you to do things. Oh, cancel.
Okay.
Siri answered me. You can get that completely hands-free. But you can see, with all of the traffic around me, the Hyundai's doing all the work. All I'm doing is steering. And even then, I'm just minding the steering wheel. The trouble with active steering is it does have a tendency to switch itself off. It's very annoying. I've also got active blind spot monitor. That will steer me out of danger if I try and change lanes into someone, someone that I haven't seen. The system also has inbuilt warnings for traffic lights, traffic cameras, speed traps, school zones, black zones. And in the city, it's going off every few minutes, so we just turn it all the way off and leave it off. You can see at night the dash looks nice and subtle. There's no mood lighting, which is a bit of a shame. I do like a bit of mood lighting. That's all for Hyundai SantaFe. If you've liked the film, hit like, leave a comment, and just there to subscribe.